Welcome to the show, Amy and April.
Thanks for having us, Jason. We're excited to be here.
We are so stoked to be here, Jason. Mm-hmm. You're the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm psyched to hang with you too. Again, I feel like I could sit and just chill out for hours and we could talk about all kinds of things.
Especially sex.
So we're going to dive way into sex today. And before we do that, I want to just have you introduce yourself to the listener, just in a very short way. I just did your formal intro, but like, how do you two introduce yourselves?
Let's see. Amy in a nutshell. This is Amy here. Amy Baldwin.
Her last name's not Nutshell.
Yeah, Amy Nutshell over here. So we're jokesters. So you already heard a little bit about my bio: sex educator, sex and relationship coach, as like Jason. But my specialty is sex. Really, is what I focus on for folks. And I also co-own a mother-daughter-owned sex shop online called PurePleasureShop.com. I work for Uber Lubricant Company. So I wear many hats in the field of sexuality, and my main passion is to really help people move through shame and all the blocks around sex, and so that they can be their most wildly free sexual beings, while abiding by consent, of course. And that's kind of the premise for the podcast as well. And April, my best friend over here and business partner. Who are you?
No Nutshell, just prefer Abe Nuts, when it goes crazy. I'm April Lampert. I'm actually VP of a sex toy company called Hot Octopus out of London, England, soggy London. And I too, as Amy mentioned, I obviously co-host Shameless Sex with Amy. And my passion is being able to provide the world more pleasure and orgasms and hopefully live the orgasmic dreams that they've ever desired. And that's big because I too am a student in this and not just a teacher. And my life is sex, and I studied environmental law. So you're welcome, Mom. I'm selling dildos. No, she's proud for sure. But this is my business, my life's purpose is the business of sex and orgasms. So that's it.
Yeah. Now it seems to be tied into pleasure. Why, obviously, but why choose sex as kind of like a path almost, and also a place to focus because it's so fucking charged?
Well, what I'll say is sex isn't always pleasurable. And while we want it to be, but I think if we just said pleasure, then we're missing out a lot of the conversations about sex and the complexities of it.
You'd be like travel and leisure.
Yeah. That's pleasure. That's pleasure. Yeah. Except for when your car breaks down on the side of the road and you're like, what the fuck do I do? You said leisure. And so sex is like and we use sex as an umbrella term. I think a lot of people think sex is like the penis and the vagina. I can say that here, right? I'm going to say it anyways. And so I think a lot of people think of that. Oh, when you say sex, you're talking about genitals, you're talking about orgasm, you're talking about penetrative sex. But sex is an umbrella term, I think, for anything that feels sexual, and it might not always be sunshine and rainbows. And pleasure is a big part of that. And
shame is a big part of sex. This is why we started Shameless Sex, because shame is such a huge piece of even our upbringing in the sexual world and our sexual experiences. So it all kind of layers onto each other.
I have to ask, did you have either one of you or both of you have, I guess, sexual trauma or negative sexual experiences which led you toward this direction, to healing through sex?
Well, yes. And I grew up in the Midwest, very conservative, and we didn't speak to sex. We didn't talk about anything about pleasure. We didn't talk about our genitals. We didn't speak on anything that was related to our bodies. My mom called my bits, my vulva, my no-no. It's like, no, you don't touch that. It's a no-no. And so I always was very curious. And so I didn't realize my trauma is not in what I would consider really heavy, as a lot of folks have experienced. Mine is, and there's no hierarchy of trauma. I'm just saying in reference to folks that I know some of their stories, that I'm like, wow, that is a lot of trauma. And that would be really hard to process. Mine came with a lot of sex that was me being compliant, meaning I was not really into it. I just thought I had to say yes. So I did it. And then I also had sex where I would never have orgasms ever with a partner, specifically penis owning partners, until I'm 39 right now. I think I was around the age of 31 when I had my first orgasm with a partner, because I was only used to having self-induced orgasms and compliant sex. And I thought, just get it over with and that'll be fine. And then I'll go take care of myself later and I won't do it in front of you. I'll do it in a closet by myself in the bathroom where no one can know. So it was shrouded in secrecy and shame. So, and I know Amy has her own experience as well around that.
I mean, my upbringing is a little more progressive. I grew up in Santa Cruz, California. A lot of people know Santa Cruz, yay. And so it's progressive in that we got comprehensive sex education, but they don't talk about pleasure and orgasm really, other than like maybe the process of orgasm, but not how to do it, especially like, for vulva owners, but really they're not teaching the process around your body. And I had to learn from a lot of trial and error. And I think I feel like every single person has experienced some bit of trauma or shame related to sexuality, sensuality, or their bodies or something. I've never met one human that is totally squeaky clean. And like April said, there's no hierarchy. I personally had a lot of compliant sex as well. So I never really had any, what I would call experiences with non-consensual acts of sexual violence per se. Yeah, I had a lot of compliant sex and didn't speak up for myself. And that creates trauma in my body because I'm feeling a no, I'm saying a yes, and then my body remembers that. And so it's affected a lot of different aspects of my body in terms of the way that I orgasm or I experience pleasure, the safety that I need and to feel connected. The first penis I touched was with someone that used to make fun of me and pick on me. And it was this boy, because we were like, 13, who was like, can I get a back rub? Okay, now rub my belly. And they just took my hand and started jacking themselves off with my hand like I was a piece of meat, and I didn't do anything about it because I didn't know that I could, You
were a teenager.
I was so young and I had and people taught me about consent. Yes, I heard about, those things and, don't let anyone touch you if you don't want them to, things like that. You're an advocate for your own body, but they didn't teach us about that in terms of actual pleasure when you're kind of engaging with someone in that way. I didn't feel like there was enough conversations about that.
I learned about it from porn. I was like, that's what that is. Right. It's not a great place to learn about sex. However, that's how I learned about it when I accidentally put in a VHS that said Days of Our Lives to tape over something when I was 6 or 7. And I was like, watch this. It was like a biker gangbang porn. Sorry. Explicit warning.
No wonder you like
anybody listening. And I didn't know, but yes, Jason, that's how I learned about sex.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Now, let me ask you a question about, you said a term, you're using some terms I haven't heard before, partly because I don't hang in the sex space.
You're talking about gangbang? I'm just kidding.
No, compliant sex.
Ah.
And then you said penis owners and vulva owners. I'm assuming that's a way to talk about sex in a maybe non-gendered type of way that feels more inclusive for people now?
Yeah. So when I became a sex educator in 2008, it's 2021 now, but this is a potentially evergreen product. The language was actually female bodied and male bodied. And that was the inclusive language. And that's since then changed because someone who has a penis might not identify as male, et cetera. So now we actually just speak to the genitals, vulva owner, penis owner.
Or bits.
Bits is universal. So you'll hear us say that. And then, if we are talking to someone and they say like, I identify as woman, then we can say, woman, she, her, but we don't necessarily know that. And then the compliant sex thing is, the term of, I felt a no, but I still said yes. And so I complied, I gave in, or you can think of it as like tolerance. I'm tolerating this experience to like kind of like pass the time by.
I want to get it over with scenario that we speak to, or people have experienced, at least our listeners say that sometimes.
So many of them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I want to dive into shame, but I first want to talk about this compliant sex. I just want to make a couple comments there. It seems like another way to say that is when we abandon ourselves and our integrity to keep connection, we might, in sort of my language, we might be that yes when we're kind of deep down inside we're a no, right? Because we want we don't want to be rejected. We don't want someone to make fun of us, or we don't want to get hurt, even though we're kind of hurting ourselves. So is that fair?
You nailed that. Yeah, definitely. Totally.
Yeah, I like that definition.
Or you want to please, from my perspective, or what I experienced in my world when I was having compliant sex as a teenager and in my 20s was I wanted to please my partner, and it wasn't about my own pleasure. It was about theirs and what I thought I had to do. And that's my definition, but you also nailed it in terms of your description.
And if I say something, I'm too much or I'm not enough.
Exactly.
I lose the love or the touch or the affection. A lot of compliant sex might not even be about love. It might be, if I say something about this, I might just lose affection in general. And I haven't been touched in, 6 months, or this is
I'm going to do this.
The firstborn boy that has wanted to hook up with me. And so I comply. And this isn't just vulva owning people that experience it, but and sometimes you get this big no inside, but you still say yes. Sometimes it's really subtle and quiet and you can't even really feel it. But later you're like, that didn't feel good.
Yeah.
When I remember leading an event, I don't know, it was maybe 2 years ago, pre-COVID, in person. And I asked, it was a pretty big room of people. And I asked, how many of the women in here, when you first started having sex, you said yes before you were ready, and you basically had sex before you were really, truly ready, and every single hand went up. That was intense for me to see that. I mean, I kind of knew that intuitively, but I was like, wow. Yeah, like, in other words, no safe, kind of secure on-ramp where we can just go slow and talk about it, and it's awkward, but we're like, feel okay here. And
well, I mean,
that's...
Well, so the women, I think, are just in general, I think, very cultured to be the caretakers. As we're just speaking of heterosexual relationships, there's like this more caretakery energy that goes there, and has been around for a long time.
Well, I also believe it's wrapped in our traditional Western systems that we've built, and it's a lot of the things that. Even from where I grew up to where Amy grew up, and we're not that different of age, but if you look at people that are 10 years older than us or 10 years younger, there's just such a vast difference in how people are with media believing what sex is. And I think my point is that the reason that we created this podcast, and the reason I believe, it's redefining relationships. Like Jason is you're helping people with their relationships, and we're helping people hopefully identify how to have better sex and restructure some of the things in their brains that perhaps could deter them from having the sex that they want and the pleasure that they want.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I'm so grateful for you, by the way.
Thank you.
Mutual. Yeah. Okay, shame. So I'll reveal a little bit of my journey here, and just get your guys' take. And shame seems to be so, I don't know, just part of sex. Like, it's just part of the program. Especially since we're not maybe taught in a, I don't know, idealistic way where it's like there's this beautiful on-ramp and it's all safe for everybody. That just seems maybe like a fantasy. Does that even happen? Maybe it does. But anyway, all the pressure from other boys, right? And then masturbation as a kid and getting made fun of, lights come on, I'm masturbating, then there's just the shame pile. And so often people have a first experience of sex or some experience where pleasure is associated with the shame and being made wrong at the same time. And now it's like they're just locked in. So how do you help people unhook that?
We love, I'll speak for both of us here, Brene Brown's words around shame. And we don't love shame, but we used to say we eradicate shame, and instead we're like, no, actually shame's a teacher. And we reframe it. Yeah. So we're actually looking at shame as, while we don't love shame and it doesn't necessarily help us in that moment, it can help to educate us on where the growth is. And to normalize shame too in a way that we all have it and or have it had it in the past, and we can continue to receive it over time. And Brene Brown speaks to shame in a way that shame grows in secrecy and silence, and it actually kind of dies or simmers down when it's held in empathy and vulnerability. So when we actually expose our shame, because shame and guilt are different. Right? Guilt is like, that thing I did is bad. Shame is I'm bad. Something wrong with me. And so I want to hide that thing or this part of me because, oh my God, if they see that part of me, they're going to hate me. And they don't want to have sex with me.
You wear it like armor.
And then it gets in the way of everything. It affects our body, affects all of the systems. So one of the tools I think is really powerful is one, normalizing it so people don't feel alone. And that's why we do on the podcast. We're constantly sharing our personal experiences or bringing in educators and to share a lot of information to normalize these conversations about shame and the challenges around sex. And then also for folks, if you're experiencing shame, part of it is sharing your shame in a safe space.
A shame ally.
Emphasis on safe space. So if you have a friend that judges you, that shuts you down, and says that's not normal,
that's the right one.
That's not the one to share with.
That's not the friend.
The friend that will love you in all of your anger and pain when you're batshit crazy. Maybe not punching them in the face, but when you're like, oh my God, going through it, and they're like, I got you, no matter how you show up. that's the friend to share this deep, hey, can I tell you about something that's really, really big and scary for me that I haven't shared with anyone? And if you don't have those people in your life, that's why we have coaches and therapists, people like Jason and other folks that you can hire to help you through this without you having to hold it on your own, because that shit wears you down.
And it's also important to note that if someone consults you looking for a shame ally and they feel safe enough for you to listen, it's not necessary to give advice, especially unwarranted advice when you feel like you have to fix. Yeah. And sometimes that's the hardest piece of sharing. Someone shared something that they thought, oh, I had this experience, and you want to say something helpful, and it just tends to deter growth and the safety, the foundation that you're looking for, that empathetic piece of the partnership, whether it's a partner or a friend that you're looking for. So listening. And so on both sides, it can be important to think about shame from a receiver or a giving piece, if you will.
And you can ask when you're sharing the shame too. Yeah. Here's what I'm looking for. When I share this, I'm not looking for advice giving. If you can't do that, then let me know and I won't share this with you. I'm looking for just be heard, supported, maybe some words of encouragement or to be held or something. The more specific we can get about what it is that we're looking for, but the people that we're speaking to, the hope is that they can give it to us. And also, getting permission from them and setting it up in a way so they're not like surprised and like, oh my God, that was really heavy what you just shared. So like an invitation for them too.
Yeah, nice. Vulva shame versus penis shame. So I've had many, many, many experiences of losing my erection, and eventually came to learn that it was I called it erectile intelligence, EI.
Ooh, we like it.
Because it was the wisdom of my body. And a teacher, a sex coach, finally taught me to trust my cock. And like, dude, just, you're sensitive, and like, listen to that thing and honor it and stop trying to override. And it completely changed shit for me. And I meet so many men, especially kind of ambitious men, that want to take the latest biohacking natural supplement to get hard or stay hard. And I'm curious how you guys coach men around that issue. And then what is the most common vulva-bodied issue that's challenging, like ED or EI?
So I'll start. Amy is this certified sex educator. And the thing about her is that she's got lots of great advice. And the thing about both of us is we interview experts on all of these pieces, whether it's a penis owner or a vulva owner. But one thing that I've taken away from all of these interviews and books that I've read, and doctors and authors and sex educators, experts, whoever we're talking to, is that our largest sex organ is our brain. And what you just spoke to, Jason, when you kind of flip the script in your brain and dropped into your body, instead of thinking about my penis isn't working, I'm coming too fast, I'm taking too long, it sort of changed or shifted in whatever chemical reaction was happening in your brain and helped you drop into your cock, as you said, or how did you put it? Your erectile intelligence.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Me too. So that's smart. And so I believe that if we all, I and Amy as well, and I won't speak for her very often, we're both heady people though. We both are in our heads, and getting into your body is one of the biggest hacks I have learned from my experience in Shameless Sex, from my experience in the world of being in sexuality and sex toys and pleasure since 2008. I've learned that getting the fuck out of here and into my body is the key to the door that has unlocked, and my breath as well. So
easier said than done too, though, as a heady person. You can speak for as much as you want, Chip, because so we stay away from the terms dysfunction. We might use premature ejaculation. You would stay away from that. Instead, it's control. If it's this or an erectile control issue, is an ejaculatory control issue, or a delayed ejaculation, and I'm speaking to penis owners right now, and I'll talk about vulva owners in a second. So we make sure our terminology stays away from that. There's nothing wrong with you, and it likely isn't a physiological thing. Like April said, your brain is your largest sex organ, responsible for around 90% of your sexual experience. Now, there are physiological things that happen with aging. If someone's diabetic, there are things
stress, SSRIs, hormones,
so much,
many things.
There's so many different factors, and for the most part, a lot of it is just in people's heads. And so, really educating people on that, like April said, the power of that your mind has, and then then teaching them about practices, which usually has to do with masturbation, self-pleasure practices, and how to harness this understanding of sensation and working with your body, which might be new or different. And also might involve touching yourself in a way that's different. So, if your way of touching yourself or having sex is fast and hard, and all of a sudden you're coming too soon for yourself or your partner is like, hey, I'd like it if maybe sex could last a little longer. Hopefully they say it in a nice way. And you want to learn how to do that, you would be with your own practice to start and starting to touch yourself in a different way. And also, if you're still having sex with that partner, to start having sex in a different way than you are used to. So that, I think that's just kind of in a nutshell, really the reframing, staying away from the shaming language, normalizing, and then teaching people tools on how they can go with these practices.
Or seeing a sexological body worker. If someone has severe trauma, there are experts and professionals out there. We've had some on our show that are incredible body workers that can help you work through the trauma.
Literally.
Yeah, they literally do hands-on erotic touch and for healing purposes, generally healing and learning, and they're incredible. And April and I have experienced sessions that's changed our lives. And then for vulva owning individuals, I think we get a lot of questions from folks who are not experiencing orgasm or desire. It's some sort of, I don't have a libido, desire, or arousal is really hard to get to, or I'm not having orgasms in my sex. And so it's a little different than, it's like less control and more like there's a block here, or the kind of sex that I'm having, letting go, or the compliance stuff. The kind of sex I'm having, I don't know how to ask for what I want. I don't even know what I want, or how do I even speak to it? And so, and those are like so many different questions. And we're in the process of potentially writing a book over here that will encompass all of these different questions. So that's a lot of pieces there that we could talk about for hours. But I'll speak to the beginning part more of that piece of the block there, the letting go, kind of like the body is really tight and kind of maybe clenching and blocking, and probably came from an experience that didn't feel very good, or multiple experiences of that somehow. And then the body's really smart. And so it does its thing. Yeah. And so the homework's pretty similar though. Go and start to have these practices, these masturbation or self-pleasure practices, or like April said, with a professional or sexological body worker, to help teach your body and give it new experiences of letting go and unwinding and to trust again.
There's also pieces, Jason, that are not thought of as traumatic for vulva owners, like childbirth, that actually are traumatic for your vulva to experience. So those are things sometimes that people don't think of as trauma because they're like, that wasn't negative for me. I have a baby now. However, those types of experiences, multiple childbirths, can really affect what you're feeling in your clitoris. It can affect the amount of fluid you're producing. It can affect your pelvic floor strength, or it can make it weaker. It can make it overtense. So there's all of these pieces, and there's 7.8 billion people on the planet, half of which perhaps are vulva owners. Maybe, I don't know, 50% of those might be of the age that we're speaking to. So with that, it's just, you have to consult professionals because we're not doctors, right? Yeah. There are so many folks out there nowadays, and we're in the digital age. So you can actually see someone that will help you no matter where you are. And I think that is such a cool piece of the time that we're living in. So I just wanted to share that piece.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you too, let me ask a kind of a related question, which is, some people go to, because you guys are very experienced, it sounds like, because you promote pleasure toys, people go to that and maybe miss the psychological piece or the trauma piece. And I'm curious, how does one know? Because a lot of people seem to go, I don't feel desire, so we need to do like really weird shit, or we need to involve some objects and some toys and things like that, thinking that's going to solve the problem. And my question is, does that solve the problem? Is that one way in, or is that something you add on after you've done some healing work and opened your body and relaxed and you're trusting? And
I'm going with option C.
So option Z.
It's not a yes. It's not an or. Yes or no. It's different for everyone. And I think you had something.
Well, I was going to speak about sex toys, as some people absolutely use them as a fix, and Amy and I are in the business of saying, if it's consensual, first and foremost, if you're able to orgasm, however you're able to get there, more power to you. And if it requires a sex toy or BDSM or kink or being tied up or something that someone else would think is weird or gross, but it's consensual, I'm saying, so the every piece involved has consent, then it's okay. And that, I believe, once you lose sight of the feeling that you have to have an orgasm in a specific way, once you can take that out of the equation, you actually can have orgasms in the ways that you perhaps desired with your partner, without your partner. And if it's a sex toy that gets you there, hell yes, that's okay. Yeah. And I'm in the business of sex toys. Sex toys have changed my life for the better. I used to hump a teddy bear at the age of 6. I didn't know it was a sex toy. It wasn't purchased as a sex toy. It was purchased as a plushy, lovely bear that I started humping. Yeah. And I didn't know I was doing anything that was even pleasurable. I just did it because it was a stress reliever. So I think if you can accessorize your sex life with a toolbox of toys that help you or your partner or yourself and or partners be on the level of orgasm, then amazing. Those are available to you. And there's lots of different tech out there. And if that is something that you want to take out of the equation to learn how to orgasm without those, also, I invite you to try that, because I have been addicted to vibrators before, and I had to take a vibrator break because my dopamine was only being released when I would apply the vibration to my vulva. And I personally wanted to change that reaction, that dopamine release, and have it done with my partner and his penis rather than with a vibrator.
Which not everyone has to do, by the way.
I was just speaking to all journey.
Yes,
that's my journey.
Of course.
Because I think there's a lot of shame about that too. And I've experienced that as well. Like, oh my God, right now I'm in this phase where it's like, I'm really only getting off my vivibrator. There must be something wrong.
It's like a diet, a vibrator diet though. Yeah. I went on a fast.
Yeah. So like she's speaking to our brain being our largest sex organ there. And once again, that's a great example of that. And I totally agree with everything April said. And I think the option C there is where it's different for everyone, right? So is the issue that, my partner and I are feeling like things are just a little stagnant. We're only having sex now like twice a month, and we just really need to spice things up. It really isn't necessarily some sort of underlying resentment or trauma or deep hurt that happened. And it really, truly is just like, we kind of just stopped putting in the time and energy. And now it's time to just spice things up and put time in the fun zone. Then maybe just adding some sex toys would be great. But what often happens is there is some deeper stuff that we haven't spoken to, whether it's within ourselves or within the partnership. And in those cases, if you just add the sunshine and rainbows on top of it, the sex toys, that stuff will still be there. Just having some fantastic sex with some toys might not get rid of the underlying resentment, trauma, and hurts. So it just depends on what's there. And so, I guess the question to ask yourself is this a Band-Aid for deeper stuff that's in here that I'm trying to escape and run away from? Or is this where I'm really at? Sunshine and rainbows? Sure. Then go ahead and go there. Yeah. But if there's deeper stuff, then let's explore that first and then add the sunshine and rainbows, or add them at the same time, but don't ignore the deeper pieces.
Amazing. I love how nuanced you guys get with this stuff, and also broad in a way that, I think people listening can feel really like there's a lot of room here, right? To do a lot of different things, and it's all okay. As long as it's consensual.
Mm-hmm. Very important. Yes, well done.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. I've been telling you guys about my life-changing yoga practice and how my body is healing after decades of injuries. And that's thanks to Lit Yoga, my friend Laura Hyman, and her incredible yoga technique, really, practice. She combines physical therapy and asana yoga practice to help you get stronger in your core in all the right places. And it's coming from someone who knows the body deeply, as a person who's worked with so many injuries. And that's me. I'm an injured dude. And I need a yoga that is going to help me move effectively and efficiently throughout my life. And I'm getting stronger, and it's intense. It's awesome. And so if you are injured in some way and you're over probably, 35, 40 on up, and you love yoga, or you like to move for 30 minutes a day, and you're looking for something, I really recommend Lit Yoga. It's my new thing, and my wife turned it on to me. So Laura is giving you a free trial, basically a $1 trial. It's basically free. Try her yoga for a month. Okay, dozens and dozens and dozens of classes, recorded and live, guided by her and her crew that she's trained. And I imagine you're going to get stronger if you just try it for a month. Okay. So go to relationshipschool.com/LYT yoga. And then at checkout, make sure you enter the coupon code JAYSON, Jason, and you'll get your first month for $1. And then after that, I think it's like almost $50 a month. Check it out. I think you're going to dig it. So what about different sexual desires? How
So
do
like different
you coach
levels, you
people?
mean?
Yeah, like I want sex and my partner doesn't. That's a very common one that I hear. I want sex more often and my partner isn't interested or has like an autoimmune disease, and she or he or whoever have lots of health issues or depression or something. And so whatever the reason is different, how do you coach someone around different sexual libidos?
So we're talking about like desire discrepancy here. So say April and I are in a relationship and April wants to have sex 5 days a week.
Every single day.
Okay, every day. She wants to have sex every day. And I would also be like, okay, but what does sex mean for you? First of all, is sex penetrative sex? Is it definitely genitals? Can making out just be sex? And that's kind of a tangent, but I think that's an important question when we talk about the umbrella term, like what does sex mean? April wants, so 5 times, every day.
But is it just oral?
Yeah.
Is it just,
do you have to have an orgasm?
Right.
What does that
exactly.
mean? And so she wants it every day. I actually would be fine with twice a month. And April's, I'm fine over here. I'm like, twice a month, cool. And she's kind of complying with me. And she's like, okay, so I'm in it. And she kind of pushes it a little bit, like, so how about sex tonight? I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. I'm just not really my body, or I don't feel very good. Or I use the I have a headache thing, which I don't recommend bullshitting your true feelings about not wanting to have sex. Really speak to what's going on for you. I think is really, really helpful. And sometimes it's hard, but we can learn skills.
Or the kids are sleeping in your bed 3 times a week and you don't have the space for years.
Yeah. Maybe
this is a lot of my friends with kids. I'm like, yo, you got to get the kids out of the bed so you can make your own time.
So I say,
we don't have kids though.
We don't have kids. So she wants to have,
in this scenario,
dogs and we put the dogs in the other room. We can do that. So she wants sex every day. I'm fine with twice a month. So this is what I would suggest. First of all, having a conversation about this. So usually it's the person that's wanting more or less of something you have changed or shift. Usually it's not the person that's like, la, I'm happy over here. That's not the one that's like going to initiate the conversation. And so April would come to me potentially and be like, say something along the lines of, there's something that's I've been thinking that's really important to me, is now a good time to talk about this, because it's a heavy conversation and we recommend not doing it naked, during sex, before sex, or after sex. This is outside of the bedroom conversation.
Over coffee,
coffee, going for a walk, because it could be potentially triggering. And then April might say something about something nice, I think, and April calls it a shit sandwich when I say this, but I say, offer a authentic or genuine, some sort of praise, appreciation, or compliment. So don't bullshit them. Like, I'm so happy that we only have sex twice a month. No, and something more along the lines of, I really love you. I care about you. I really want to have like the ultimate connection with you. And that includes sex. And I'm really craving more. I'm really craving more connection with you, more sex with you. In my perfect world, I would love to have sex every day. And I know that's not your perfect world. But first of all, I'm just wondering if you're open to talking about this with me. So starting with that piece, because there's room to have this conversation. And then from there, we can speak to our differing needs and desires. And the hope is that we can put them together and it's not a perfect meeting in the middle, and it's not perfect leaning to one side or the other, because then one of us is unhappy. Like if I'm having sex with April every day and I don't want to, that's not perfect. That's set up for me. Compliant.
Yes.
And she's already having compliant sex with me by only doing the twice a month. So how can we kind of continue to lean into each other here and there? And it will look different day to day. Maybe today I lean into you a little more, and maybe today you lean into me a little more. And part of that is just being present and constantly checking in with each other. Who am I as a sexual being today? What am I wanting and needing, desiring today? And following that thread.
And there also, there needs to be an alignment. And for those listeners that tune in, Amy and I are business partners. We were role playing there. So we're not,
you don't want them to think that
we're in
sex?
Friendship. Yeah. I was just being clear, because sometimes people are like, oh, you two are.
People thought that for years.
Yes. We're both in partnerships.
I think that's clear.
We're using it as in terms of a relationship that perhaps is not quite so out of line, because some folks out there desire something that their partner doesn't want to tap into at all, a threesome, or they want to go down the direction, a rabbit hole of something that their partner's unwilling to go for at all. And that's identifying your yes, your no's, and your maybes. And this all sort of aligns with each other, because you can be a hard no about something, about anal, for instance. And I'm sorry to go there. And not sorry, but this is Jason's podcast, but we're speaking to bum play. Okay. We're to PG-13, the pirate's booty. Some person might be like a hard no. I do not want anything near me. I never want to try it. And the other partner might really want to experience that or being the giver of that. So you have to identify your boundaries. And if it is out of alignment completely, that's when I think the real conversations have to start. But if it's a desire piece, I think you're so good, Jason, with aligning relationships and providing the communication tools that would be necessary to reach alignment, or to at least, because it changes month to month, or at least form a plan or a map to help you get to a common ground where both people are comfortable, and it could be a win-win, not a sacrificial situation. So there's different layers of that. So it just depends, I feel, on the relationship, the desire in question, and boundaries, really.
Totally. Yeah, I love the yes, no's, and maybes. That's such a great conversation, because it's important to people to honor their no's, right? And it might not mean I'm a no in 5 years, but it means I'm a definite no right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's good to know. I need to know what your no is, right?
Yeah.
I was a hard no on anal play for a long time. This is why I'm using it as an example. Once because I had a bad experience, and some people have bad experiences with other pieces early in life. They were like, oh, I don't want to do this, a blowjob, because I was forced to give a blowjob, or I just don't like the look of it. So you don't have to identify with that for the rest of your life. And when you have safety in a partnership, and you can explore that slowly and take it moment by moment. Now I am the biggest fan of anal play, and I love giving my partner fellatio. I'm making it PG. No, that's probably rated R
over here. Too polite.
Yeah, cool. And there's such you guys speak so openly about sex that there's clearly you've worked through a lot of your own shame. Would you say shame still surfaces for you as just part of the path? Is like, oh, here it is, I got to deal with it.
As Jason says, hell yes.
Hell yes.
Yes. I think that's what you say, right? Or at least on our show you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, of course it pops up. And it pops up. Old stuff pops up. Stuff that was around my teenage years will still come into my bedroom playtime. And an example will be around, orgasming with a vibrator. The first time I had an orgasm was with a vibrator when I was 18. I had tried masturbation with my hands for a number of times, didn't really work, and had 3 different sexual partners by then, never had an orgasm. No, but they didn't offer to go down on me ever, nor did I ever ask for it, because I didn't feel confident in that, and they weren't offering it. So there's actually 2 pieces that come up. I will still shame myself about using a vibrator at times, but I can tell you, some of my best orgasms are using a vibrator and either having a cock or some sort of phallus, but generally a cock. Some a little bit inside of me, or inside me in specific positions while I'm using the vibrator, or just using my vibrator. And the minute I orgasm, then I have the cock inside of me. Then it's like this prolonged, powerful orgasm. And I'll still loop though, like, wait, but you keep bringing the vibrator out. There must be something wrong with you. And then I'm like, but I'm having the best orgasms ever. And my partner's totally into it. They're not having any issues with this, but that voice will still pop up. And then the oral sex piece, that, while it's not, I guess I'll call it shame, and it almost is a little bit trauma-y, but it created a neural pathway in my brain. You don't orgasm easily or often from oral sex. And so when someone's going down on me, I'm very either in my head, I feel kind of ticklish and squeamish, and that's very hard to override, even with all of my tools, breath, relaxation, slowness. I think that just has to do with the old imprinting. So maybe that's not exactly shame, because it's not like I'm not worthy of this. Oh, I am worthy of people going down on this pussy. Okay. But I still have these old things that come up, and I work with them. And I might do that forever.
And I will chime in with one thing. I've had a previous partner many partners ago that complained about the amount of fluid my pussy would produce, that it wasn't enough. Right. And I've held on to that. And sometimes with hormonal shifts, and any vulva owners out there, some people will be like, oh, I never need lube. And I'm like, awesome. That's great. I do. Sometimes I need lube. Sometimes I don't. And I still have to work through that, thinking that trigger, that little thing that went on in my brain whenever that person said that was, heavy. So I'm encouraging everyone out there that's ever been in partnership with someone, if there's something that maybe isn't going your direction, maybe your partner's cock isn't hard, maybe your partner's vulva isn't wet, the one thing I invite you to do is refrain from shaming them at all. And even if you don't feel like it's a shame, like, what's wrong with your cock? Or why isn't your pussy wet? Are you not turned on by me? Those types of things you can word in a way to say, I'm really turned on right now. It's okay that your pussy isn't wet. We have lube. I can go down on you. Everything's good. Or it's okay.
Options,
You've got options. It's okay that your cock's not hard. Let's focus on other parts of your body. So those things, though, they do get imprinted in your brain, and you can reframe those. You can create new neural pathways on those neural pathways to not have those things, but they still do come up.
If they're really old and embedded, as you know, in your work, they don't go away, and you create the new ones, but they can pop back up and something can trigger it. And it doesn't mean, oh, fuck, here I am again. It's like, okay, here's an opportunity now. The work is still here. So I'm going to work with it. And then we do. But if we shame ourselves, we double shame. So there's the shame, and I'm going to shame myself for experiencing the old thing. Then we're even more screwed. So instead, I think opportunity reframe I love what April said too, like, please avoid shaming people from the functioning of their bodies and just make it a loving conversation.
I think some people just don't understand that it was shame, because I know that back when I was not an evolved human in my 20s, there were times where I was like, is something wrong with me? Why is your cock not working?
Yeah.
Right. I would say stuff like that, not knowing that it was harmful. And I want to call every single person out there that ever feels like that I feel like I've ever wronged, to be like, hey, by the way, you were great. Your cock was great. And your vulva was great.
You get 5 stars.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Nothing is happening. Yes. So
totally.
Just
oh my
a
God,
last
the carnage of my sex life.
Oh my God.
Right. Reflection.
Yeah. The carnage. That's a visual right there. Yeah.
Kind of intense. Yeah. It's just, mostly it was just, inadequacy, insecurity, overriding, posturing, pretending, just like kind of a mess. Like all I needed to do was slow the fuck down, look her in the eyes, and just have an honest conversation about what's occurring, right? And then I invite my partner, whoever that was at the time, into that kind of space. It's like, whoa, this is uncomfortable. I have some shame coming up. Can we slow this down and just like, hold on a second here? Instead, it was like, no, I'm fine. Everything's good. No, we're cool. And then like hide, right? It's just, so you guys are, again, I just feel all this permission, a lot of permission here.
Yeah. I think
people to be where they're at.
It's it's normalizing.
Yeah.
It's normalizing talking about sex. It's normalizing talking about what your body is experiencing, not only during sex, but during foreplay. It's the experiential experience. It is hard sometimes to talk about it, but you can create signs. You can tap on each other if you are loving what you're feeling. You can have like different sounds that you make, like funny sounds or hot sounds. That's the dolphin. There's different modalities for everyone out there, depending on their comfort level, because conversations around sex are not easy. And that's one thing I hope that folks out there listening can take away from our conversation with you, Jason, is that it's not easy. These are not going to be things that just can come naturally if you've never done them before. So practice, just like masturbation and sex, practice makes perfect. I'm still learning. I still clam up and have to get my words, even though I'm great at talking about how I'm feeling is really difficult. Mm-hmm. So for all of those out there, all of those folks out there that feel the same way, it's an art and it's a practice, and be gentle with yourself and keep listening to Jason's podcast, because it's so helpful. I'm grateful for it.
And it's not easy, but it can get easier. Like April said, with the practice, as the more we practice something, everything, we describe sex often as a meditation, right? Mm-hmm. Like the single point of focus, but we sit down to meditate and we're like, oh my, this is really hard, but I'm just sitting and trying to do a single point of focus, but it's so hard. But then you practice it for a while and it gets easier. So that's the hope, is the things that are feeling really challenging now through the work can become an easier process, and maybe something you don't even have to think about anymore, or something that you very rarely need to work at. But through that we can experience some shift and change in the direction we want.
Nice. Love that. As we start to wind down, would each of you be willing to share maybe one, a journal exercise or a self-pleasure exercise practice that the listener could take away and just give it a shot as a way to heal or grow through their sex?
So I would say for me, there's 2 pieces, and the biggest shift, and it's such a simple one. It has actually nothing to do with sex, but it has everything to do with sex, and it's meditation. And that can be such a turnoff word for some people. I have friends that I've been telling to meditate since I started my practice, probably 5 years ago is it. It hasn't been long, but it's changed my life, and including my breath, focusing on my breath. And then during sex, I tap into that experience of my breath and just breathing into not only my genitals, but breathing into the parts that are being touched. And I really, truly believe, and it doesn't have to be some 20-minute Ram Dass meditation where you're like oming. I listen to a 5 to 10 minute guided meditation every day about different topics. And every day is beautiful. And it always seems to align with what I'm experiencing. And that has been a really, I hate to use the word transcendent so much, but it has taken me to another level in my sexuality. And my partner, who never meditated until he met me, and he's 53, and he only started meditating 5 years ago when we met. And at first he'd be like, "Hey, you made me late because we were meditating," and now he's like, "We haven't meditated yet today." I'm like, nice. Wow, he's like a bit of the meditation Gestapo. So that's my bit of advice. And that has totally helped me.
Yeah. People are like, "Oh shit, that wasn't just some easy journal exercise. It's like a life change practice.
I got to go sit with myself."
Start with 2 minutes.
Yeah. Like April said, start small though. And I agree with her on that. When taking on a meditation practice has changed my sex life. And when I'm out of my meditation practice, where I'm not meditating regularly, it affects my sex life. It just does. I'm less skilled at being present. So it really carries over. And it's not something you have to do every day for 20 minutes, like April said. My addition to that will be creating actually, let's start with just a simple task for people. So it's not like, oh my God, it's something I have to do every day. If you can do this for 10 minutes, set a timer, create the space, set up the space so that you can just be by yourself. There, no screens, no phones are going to go off. No one's going to interrupt you. And you can even make the space sexy. Maybe you have some sensual music, something that gets you in your body and maybe into your turn on, but no screens. So we're actually going to say no porn for this one. And I'm going to invite you to just explore with your hands, unless you have some sort of mobility issue and you need toys or other objects, and go ahead and use those. But just explore and get curious about your hands on your body and let them move as if they are just doing their own thing, and get really curious about what they want to do and where they can go without you trying to think about where they're going to go or what they're doing. And you can bring it on your whole body, but eventually trying to maybe bring them to your genitals, or see if they want to go there. If they don't, then they don't have to go there. And you're really trying to get a little more on board with the body as this intuitive knower of what it wants, needs, and desires, and less in the mind. And then when your hands are on your genitals from that place, then I would advise you to stay away from goals for this. So you're not touching yourself to have orgasm. You're not trying to touch yourself in a specific way. Again, you're just getting really curious about what's available here and just noticing the sensations that are available, what's popping up. And you can note them, tingling, warmth, pain, numbness. You can note those things. But go and do this kind of like non-goal oriented exploration. If you need a goal, then just make it sensation. I'm going to notice sensation or curiosity. And it can be a really educational experience and also show you potential. And maybe you won't get it the first time. So after 10 minutes, you're like, I didn't really get much. Maybe try it again and then again. But you might see that your body knows a lot more than you think. And you might discover some sensations that you never knew, or places that you never knew liked being touched, in new ways to do that.
Amazing. Love those. Cool. Okay, listeners, you got your practices there.
Have fun.
One last question I ask every guest. If you were with me and I had 1,000 teenagers in a room and I could teach them only one thing about sex or relationships, and you were whispering in my ear, what would you want me to tell them?
That's a good question.
I would say, because you have 1,000 teenagers, so of all genders, I would say
you are not broken. What would you say? I'm just throwing it out.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah,
that's all you got? Okay.
No, I was going to keep going. I was like, I'll have your popcorn here. Jason. Okay.
I won't do my whispers. I would say something about your pleasure is your birthright. No matter what genitals you have, no matter what gender you are, no matter how you identify, your body is wired to experience pleasure, and it is equal to anyone that you are engaging in the sexual activity with. Your pleasure and your worthiness in that department is just as worthy as anyone else's, and don't ever sacrifice that.
Yeah. And I'll add the you are not broken piece, because I was raised to feel like I was broken as a teenager. So I feel like that's huge. You are normal. You are a beautiful human being, and you're capable of doing anything you want and achieving anything you want in the world of sex, pleasure, and beyond that. So that would be it.
And I'd also be like,
and
Jason,
Yeah.
Can we add one bonus to the penis owners out there who like
Oh, yeah.
vulvas? Any penis owners, any teenage penis owners who like vulvas? We live in a penis-centric model for sexuality. The book Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski highlights that is one of my favorite sex ed books or sexuality books. If you want to learn more about vulva pleasure and this kind of penis-centric model, how it gets in the way of sexuality, it's a really powerful book, Come As You Are. So what I would say to the penis owners is, if you like the vulvas, really truly understand that this is a receiving orifice that takes 4 times as long to get aroused as a penis, generally speaking, and to really, really put a lot of time into connection, relaxation, into their pleasure, because you will benefit from that too, just so you know.
And porn is not a sex educator, so don't necessarily mimic what you're watching on the interwebs and porn sites with what you do in the bedroom. We don't advocate for it other than for entertainment purposes, just like you're going to see Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That's like porn.
It's not real? It's not real?
Not real.
Ah, shit.
The boys and berries taste like boys and berries.
Nice. So good. So kind of grounded and practical and, permissive and inclusive. So thank you for all the heart wisdom and body wisdom here today. So beautiful. Mm-hmm. Where can the listener find you two and what you're up to?
So we are anywhere podcast. We're anywhere podcasts are. Listen to Shameless Sex. We are Shameless Sex podcast on Instagram. That's where we're most probably relevant. We have a TikTok that we don't use. We're trying to be cool, okay? And it's more difficult than we thought. But we are at Shameless Sex podcast. And then you can check out our website, shamelesssex.com, and look out for a book. We just submitted a book proposal. It'll be called probably A Guide to Shameless Sex and Relationships, is a working title. If you're an editor out there looking for someone, no, we have an editor.
Well, we have an agent.
We have an agent.
Yeah,
sorry.
we're
our own editors right now.
Yes.
Right on.
Yeah. Those are the easy places. If you go to our website, it'll have the links to all these other socials and things like that too. Shamelesssex.com. You can find us. We got some photos and things up there, and workshops and all that.
We have photos on there?
Yeah, we have photos.
Oh, wow.
We're not just voices.
We are so special.
We're real humans.
Well, Amy and April, thanks just for being so courageous to help us be living a more shame-less sex life.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
I know, Jason, such a magical episode. Every time we talk to you, I'm like, I don't want you to go, Jason. You're the best.
Voice.
You do. You have a soothing voice. I'm dropping into you. Yes, thank you.
You should do a guided erotic meditation. Okay, anyways, I'll stop.
All right, yeah.
All right, y'all. Thanks again. Action step. Go to shamelesssex.com. Be sure to subscribe to their podcast or cruise through the episodes that interest you. And follow them on Instagram at Shameless Sex. And I just love the brand, Shameless Sex. Yes. Action step. Both of them had a little cool action step there toward the end of the episode. I want you to do that and talk to your partner or friend about what that was like. So do the exercises, report back. Okay. As always. Thanks everyone. Awesome being here with you. Thank you for being a listener, subscriber, and a fan of the Relationship School. We are on a mission to change people's lives and create a more relationally sound, sensitive, evolved culture. Hope you can join us. Hey, quick interruption here to talk about our coaching program. If you've ever thought about a new career or doing a side hustle, you should check out relationship coaching. Seriously. You can make good money. You can serve people from your heart, and a lot of people need help right now. Here's one of our graduates who is now an awesome relationship coach, Shannon.
Hi, my name's Shannon, and I joined the coaching program in the fall of 2019. And I joined for 2 main reasons. One, because I really had a strong, deep desire to be of service to others. And I knew that I wanted that to be through coaching. And I really trusted that Jason and his team and their wide range of experience would really provide a fabulous foundation to learn the skill and art of coaching. And 2, being a growth junkie, I just knew that this coaching program would provide a great opportunity to poke out some really hard to reach areas within myself. And it did not disappoint. what I've learned and how the coaching program has changed my life. I get to wake up each day excited and energized about what I do, my mission in life, and have the opportunity to be of service to others and to sit and have conversations and guiding others and bringing more clarity and joy into their life, all through my own experiences and what I've learned. So I just feel thoroughly grateful. I also find that I have more confidence. I speak my mind more clearly. I've developed friendships with people over the course of the year that are lasting and deep and just bring so much value to my life. So I feel really grateful to have participated in the program and to continue learning through the relationship school.
Okay, Shannon is an excellent coach. She's been training with us in both individual relationship coaching as well as couples coaching. And she's currently in our couples coaching training program. So she has changed her life and she's helping others change their lives. If you want to apply, go to relationshipschool.com/RCT. Hope to see you in there. If you're in pain relationally and you need immediate support, our coaches can help you. I've trained almost 100 coaches at this point, relationship coaches that are amazing humans, and they have the chops to help you get through this hard time, this hard moment you're going through. Or if you want to actually hire a coach and have someone in your corner to continue to up-level your communication skills, your listening skills, your conflict skills, these folks are incredible, okay? So all you need to do is go to relationshipschool.com/MRC. That stands for My Relationship Coach. So relationshipschool.com/MRC. All right. If you want immediate, direct, effective help, check them out. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share one of these videos with a friend. We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships. And you are one of them, so thank you.